So this is going to be a short episode. I'm just going to go and collect the Chocobo for this area. So the way that this works is different than it did in the original game. So in the original Final Fantasy VII, that's a weird sentence that doesn't make a lot of sense out of context. But in the original Final Fantasy VII, the way you got Chocobos was, in the early game anyway, until you got the High Wind, what you would do is you would run up to one of the Chocobo tracks on the world map. You would equip the Chocobo lore materia, and then you would run around on top of it until you got into a fight with a Chocobo. And then you had to defeat the enemies before the Chocobo ran away. You could throw food at it, and it would stay there, and then you could defeat the enemies, and then at the end of that, you have a Chocobo. Now, other than trying to get past the Midgar, this giant snake, Zoli, Doli, or whatever the fuck they're calling it in this, the, oh jeez, still got a cough. This is terrible. When you would get a Chocobo, and you would only have it as long as you were riding it. So it only really made a lot of sense for a person, because the world map wasn't huge, and there weren't enormous contiguous areas that you would go through. Like, you could say, like, the largest area was probably the trip from Costa del Sol to Nibelheim, which wasn't really all that far. And a Chocobo, your average Chocobo, couldn't take you that whole distance because it couldn't cross rivers. So it didn't make a lot of sense to pick up Chocobos other than the first time you did it. Later on in the game, you could capture Chocobos and you could store it on the High Wind, so every time you wanted to run around on the world map, which was really just end-game content, you didn't need to do this later on, you could capture one, send it to your Chocobo stable, and then the Chocobo stable, send it to the High Wind, and you would ride it wherever. This game, however, does it differently. Every individual region you go to, you need to unlock a separate Chocobo for, and there's some weird little mini-game. The first one, it was a real simple one. Throw a rock, distract the Chocobo, sneak up behind it, there you go, you got yourself a giant chicken. In this one, however, you gotta do this stupid little minecart game where you gotta sneak around and then get up behind it and jump on top, flip a switch, throw rocks at switches, that kind of stuff. But once the Chocobo is unlocked, I don't have to unlock it in this area again. I can just go and hit the L1 button and I'm on my Chocobo, or at least it runs up to me and I can ride it. It's also the fast travel mechanics. So you have these fast travel points, which are the Chocobo stops, which I guess are supposed to be old bus stops that the Junon Republic had operated before they fell. You go and you pick up a sign, and you can fast travel to there, but you can't fast travel in any environment that you haven't unlocked the Chocobo in. So I've been unable to fast travel in this place until right now. But there is more to Chocobos in this game than just fast travel or just being able to cross the environment more quickly. I'm guessing there's going to be more of this kind of thing later on, because in the original game you had the different Chocobo colors. You had blue, you had the original yellow, you had the blue ones, you had the black ones. There was another color, maybe red, I'm not sure. But white, maybe? White Chocobos, black Chocobos, yellow, whatever, and the golden ones. Each one had a different ability. So, like, I might have my facts wrong on this one, but the blue one had the ability to cross over rivers. The black one, or the white one, can cross over mountains or something like that. Here we have the black Chocobo. It has the ability to climb up walls like this. So there are going to be some areas in the environment that you're simply not going to be able to access until you have your Chocobo. So it kind of forces you to unlock this and Like, so you have to go and unlock this if you're going to go and complete certain parts of the game. And that's, I guess it's, it forces you to explore, basically. Which I guess is a good thing. Especially if they have such a big environment. You're gonna make a big environment. They're gonna want you to play it, you know. A lot of the content that you're gonna see in this game, though, seems to very much be these crystals. You have your side quests that the NPCs will give you. You'll have the job board, all that kind of stuff. But these tiny little mini games that we have, the memory matrix thing, it seems like we're going to be seeing this a lot. And I guess the purpose of it is to... I haven't really worked it out yet. It seems like what it does, the most immediate thing that it does, is allow the battle against the boss that you're fighting to be easier. So, like if I unlock 3 Phoenix Crystals, I could fight a version of Phoenix that is 3 levels weaker. Chadley also mentions that it makes that Phoenix stronger.
Analysis complete. I managed to extract the necessary data from the crystal. This should allow me to strengthen your materia.
So yes, I find Chadley to be somewhat annoying. He was a character that seems to have been introduced, and they tried to go something a little bit deeper with him and having him be a robot and all that kind of stuff, or built by Shinra but sort of working against him. But really his function in the game was to provide, because it was a sort of open world game, they wanted you to have some like dedicated access points that you could find in separate parts of the game that would give you the ability to access like the battle menu, the simulator, all that kind of stuff. And they stuck a character to it, and you didn't have to engage with him much. He would sell you some stuff if you wanted, but whatever. This game, oh my god, they put him in more of the game, and that was probably a mistake. There's also a little bit of an issue that I think they went a little bit cheap with this animation here. Like, okay, so when Chadley appears on the screen, watch his face. It's a little bit jarring.
Cloud, by analyzing the LifeSpring data, I was able to locate an old Republic transmitter chip. It can be found within a derelict structure that sits upon the coastline. This area is modeled with craters resulting from intense warfare between the Republic and Shinra. Do mind your step as you proceed.
So there's always going to be a couple of different levels of animation that you're going to see in these open world games, where you have the really like detailed animation in a cutscene where a character is emotionally expressive and they move around subtly. It's basically just motion captured stuff. They put actors in a studio, they pointed the motion capture cameras, they stuck the ping pong balls on them, all that kind of stuff. And then you have the lower level animations that you tend to see in some of the less important cutscenes. This was something that was like really obvious in Final Fantasy 16, where it's just Clive talking to another character in an unimportant scene. And they just sort of like, they stand there and they gesture a little bit with their hands, but it's really stiff and really stilted. That's less quality. And then below that, you have what Chadley's doing here. Now, Chadley was not an emotive character to begin with. He was just sort of, he's a robot, so he's supposed to come across like a robot. But seeing him in this, he's completely still. His mouth is moving, not in time with the graphics, not in time with the voiceover. So it looks really cheap, and it's like, it's almost like you're not even actually looking at Chadley, you're just looking at a sort of like an avatar version of him. And I guess maybe that's what that's supposed to be, but it still doesn't look right. This guy's someone that we'll come back to later. Anyway, it's the end of the episode.